Bonjour and welcome back to French with me. Okay, quick question to start us off. How do you say, I had already eaten when he arrived? You know, if you're an intermediate learner, you've probably got the basic past tenses completely locked down. But today we're leveling up. We're unlocking a real game changer that lets you tell so much richer, more complex stories. We are mastering le plus-que-parfait, the French past of the past. Let's get right into it.
Here's a super quick roadmap for today's explainer. First up, the past before the past. Then, the golden grammar formula. Third, choosing avoir or etre. Fourth, negation and reflexive verbs. Then we'll do an interactive practice quiz, and finally, wrap up with a quick challenge.
Section 1. The past before the past.
So, picture this. You're telling a story to a French friend. You want to drop the line, when he arrived, I had already eaten. Now, I know you already know how to say I ate using le passé composé, but how do you say I had eaten, expressing a totally finished action that happened before another past action? Well, that requires a whole new tool, and that's exactly what we're building today.
That tool is called le plus-que-parfait, and honestly, let's just toss the heavy academic jargon right out the window. Simply put, it's just the past of the past. It is the exact, literal equivalent to the English structure where we use had followed by a past participle. If you need to say you had done something before the rest of your story even happened, this is absolutely the tense you need. Let's trace how a sentence actually evolves. Think of it like taking steps backwards in time. We start in the present right now. Je mange. I am eating. Take one step back into the normal past using le passé composé. J'ai mangé. I ate. Now to take one more giant step back in time into le plus-que-parfait, it becomes j'avais mangé. I had eaten. Notice how crazy similar it looks to le passé composé? You literally already have the building blocks for this.
Which brings us to Section 2, the golden grammar formula.
So the absolute best part here is that le plus-que-parfait is a compound tense. It's just a two-step stacking process using pieces you already know. Step 1, you take an auxiliary verb, either avoir or etre, but this time you conjugate it in l'imparfait. Step 2, you just slap on the participe passé, the past participle of your main verb, and boom, that's it. Avoir or etre in l'imparfait plus your past participle.
Just to make this perfectly clear, here is your cheat sheet for Step 1. These are your auxiliary stems in l'imparfait. For avoir, you've got j'avais, tu avais, il avait, nous avions, vous aviez, and ils avaient. And for être, we have j'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, il était. Seriously, burn these into your memory. They are the foundation of literally every single past of the past sentence you'll ever create.
Section 3. Choosing avoir or etre.
Now you might be wondering, wait, how do I know which auxiliary to use? Well, I have incredible news. The rules for choosing your auxiliary in le plus-que-parfait are the exact same as le passé composé. Seriously, you do not have to learn a single new rule here. If a verb takes être in the normal past tense, it absolutely takes être in the past of the past.
Let's do a super quick recap just to refresh your memory though. The vast majority of French verbs, they use avoir. You only use être for two very specific categories. First, verbs of movement and change of state. You know, the classic Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verbs like aller, venir, naître, mourir. And second, all pronominal and reflexive verbs. They always use être.
Let's actually compare a couple examples directly from our source texts to see this in action. First up, using avoir. J'avais déjà acheté des chaussures. I had already bought some shoes. Super simple, right? Now, let's look at être. Ils étaient partis avant notre retour. They had left before our return. This is absolutely crucial. Because we used être, the past participle, parti, must agree with the plural subject, ils. That's exactly why there is an s at the end. Don't let those agreements with être slip your mind.
Okay, Section 4, negation and reflexive verbs. Let's tackle what some folks consider the tricky parts. When we look at complex negation, the whole secret is placement. The negative terms like ne and pas, ne and plus, or ne and jamais, they have to wrap around or sort of hug the conjugated verb. And in a compound tense like this, the conjugated verb is solely your auxiliary. The past participle gets left completely outside the hug.
Let's see that hug in action. How would you say I had not finished? It's je n'avais pas fini. Notice how the ne and the pas wrap perfectly around avait, which is our auxiliary in l'imparfait. The past participle, fini, gets pushed all the way to the very end of the sentence. The formula holds strong. It never breaks.
All right, what about reflexive verbs, like se lever, to get up? Remember our rule. All reflexive verbs use etre. So where does the reflexive pronoun go? It just slides right in before our auxiliary. I had gotten up becomes je m'étais levé. You've got the reflexive pronoun me, followed directly by the auxiliary était, and finished off with the past participle, lever. Smooth, right?
Section 5. Time for an interactive practice quiz. Let's transform from passive watching to active recall. Here's your first challenge. How do you translate she had already left? Think about the verb for to leave, partir. Does it take avoir or être? What's its past participle? Oh, and do you need any agreements? Pause the explainer right now if you need a second.
Okay, got it? The answer is elle était déjà partie. If you nailed this, absolutely stellar job. Let's decode it together. Partir is a Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verb, so it takes être. We conjugate être in the imparfait for she, giving us elle était. Then we add the past participle partie. And here is the kicker. Because our auxiliary is être and our subject, elle, is feminine, we literally have to add an extra e to the end of partie. Plus, the adverb deja just nicely wedges itself right between the auxiliary and the participle.
Let's try one more. Based on a quote by Albert Camus from our sources, how do you translate they had laughed? Assume a masculine plural, they. The verb to laugh is rire. Avoir or etre. Go ahead, pause, and build the sentence.
And the correct translation is ils avaient ri. Rire is an intransitive verb, no movement or change of state involved, so it definitely takes avoir. We conjugate avoir in the imparfait for they, which gives us avait. The past participle of rire is simply ri. Smash them together, and you get ils avaient ri. Perfect, seamless grammar.
Section 6. Wrap up and challenge. Let's summarize our core takeaway one last time. When you need to express an action that happens before another past action, you grab le plus-que-parfait. You build it by taking your auxiliaire, avoir or être, conjugating it in l'imparfait, and then just tacking on your past participle. It's just a simple formula, and you already have all the variables. You now have the power to tell intricate, beautifully complex past tense stories in French.
To make sure this knowledge really sticks, I have one final provocative challenge for you. Down in the comments, I want you to write just one sentence in French using le plus-que-parfait. Describe something you had done before you even hit play on this explainer today. Did you eat? J'avais mangé. Had you finished your homework? J'avais fini mes devoirs. Show off your mastery. Prove you've got this, and I'll be reading through your comments. Until next time, happy learning.